Hello there, my name is Darren and I'm so glad you're joining us today. I'll be uploading new content daily, so subscribe to stay tuned. Please feel free to give this video a like, I would so appreciate it. Now then, on to the story. I don't think my dog is really a dog. Right now I'm hiding in my closet, shaking in fear. I'm typing this out on my phone, so I apologize if there's a formatting issue or grammar mistake. But I really don't give a damn at the moment. In case I don't make an update to this post, please, I implore you, report this to the authorities or anyone. I just don't know what to do. During April of 2018, I adopted a 5-month-old puppy from the pound. I was fortunate enough to rescue her from that dreadful place and bring her into my loving home. She was a border collie mix and I named her Nellie. I don't know what the hell happened, but what I have now is not my dog. She was such a timid little pup when I first brought her home. I remember she had been inside for maybe 5 minutes before she peed on the carpet. I could only laugh and kiss her because I was so utterly happy. She slept in my bed that night and many nights thereafter. She only weighed maybe 6 or 7 kilograms when I first picked her up. The months that followed were simply amazing. It was the first time since I graduated high school that I felt truly over the moon. Things began to change in December of 2018. In the early hours of the morning on the 5th, I believe, Nellie woke me up. I grabbed my glasses from the bedside table and flicked on the lamp. She stood about a meter from the door, pointing right at it, a low growl emanating from her. Curious, I got out of bed and opened the door, but to her surprise, there was nothing there. I thought that would have been the end of it. However, a few more days passed, and on the 9th it happened again, early hours pointing at the door. This continued for the next week. I believe this is when Nellie disappeared. At about 2 a.m. on the 21st, Nellie woke me up wanting to go outside. This was not out of the ordinary, as she would do this once every few weeks. She would wake me up by licking my face, then sulk and lay down in front of the door if I wouldn't get up. Behind my backyard is a forest that stretches for miles. Sometimes Nellie liked to chase down rabbits and possums when we walked through the woods. When I let her out that night, she walked to about 5 meters before the tree line. I watched her pee and start her way back to the house, but then things didn't go exactly as planned. She must have heard something because she whipped around, pointed at the trees and growled. I thought it might have been a rabbit, but thinking back on it now, it was probably something much worse. She barked, then made a beeline for the trees, disappearing into the thickness before I heard more barking. Then nothing. Absolute silence. I was about to grab a torch and put on my red bands, but then the trees started rustling. There was no wind. It was distressing, to say the least. Then they stopped. I called out her name and waited. About a minute later, she wandered out of the trees and back inside. I thought nothing of it and promptly went back to sleep. I should have thought about it. As the months continued, things got weird. She stopped wanting to go on walks. She cut back on her food and began to get skinnier. I decided to change up her diet from dog biscuits to meat. She liked that. She really liked that. Sometimes she would run off into the woods to go hunting for rabbits or anything she could get her paws on. I also noticed she began to get bigger. Not fat bigger, because as she got bigger it looked like she got skinnier. Then she stopped playing with her toys. That weirded me out the most, because her beloved squeaky duck toy I got for her the day she came home was always with her inside the house. Now it lay gathering dust in the corner of my room. But she began to show a liking to the barbecue get-togethers Paul would throw. A little too much. Honestly, that should have been a warning sign. That day was the 26th of February 2019. In the following weeks, people unfortunately died. It was small to begin with. That makes it sound better than it was. Old people died first. As sad as it sounded, we all thought it was because of old age. Then we got the details, horrific details. They were murders, violent and bloody murders. We were absolutely shit scared then. This brings us to tonight, the 24th of March. I awoke to the sound of gunfire. I rushed over to my curtains and yanked them open. Paul's house was on fire. I immediately rushed to put on some thick clothes and grabbed a flashlight and my phone ready to dial 111 for a fire truck. At the time, I didn't even notice my bedroom door was open when I clearly remember closing it before I went to bed that night. Nor did I notice Nellie was missing. I yanked open my back door and I froze. It was illuminated by the bright fire of Paul's home. It stood on its hind legs, tall and lanky, completely black with white highlights over its body. The eyes were almost a glowing red. Its claws were massive, and sadly one set was clearly protruding through Paul's chest. I actually don't know. It felt like so long ago, even though it was only an hour ago. I couldn't feel a thing. I couldn't even feel the flashlight slip through my fingers and land heavily on the concrete ground of my back patio. I instantly realized my mistake and I saw it look at me. It looked me deep in the eye and I saw her, my sweet girl, my Nellie, or more rather what was pretending to be Nellie. It dropped Paul to the ground and terrifyingly reared its head into the air and howled deeply. It sounded like a mix between the sound of absolute pain and what I could only describe as Lupin's howl from Prisoner of Azkaban. That was the only motivation I needed to run. I hauled ass into my bedroom and dived into my closet and shut the door. I covered myself in dirty washing and stayed still. It felt like I lay there for a few million years. It walked, or skulked more rather, into my room. I heard its claws clatter across the hardwood floor before stopping. I couldn't see a fucking thing, but I heard it howl once again before it sounded like it tore my bed to fucking bits. I heard glass smash and hard objects collide with the walls, then nothing. Complete silence once again before I heard it skulk off and leave the house, probably to finish eating my friend. It's now 7 a.m. I can hear sirens outside, but I'm too afraid to leave lest that thing is waiting for me on the other side of the door. The only thing I could do for the last few hours was type this out and do research, but it didn't make sense. I googled everything I remembered about that thing. I got a result that I'm fairly certain is what it is. It didn't make fucking sense. I read pages upon pages of this fucking thing, looked at artwork, folklore, everything. It doesn't make sense. The research says the location of the creature is found in the United States, usually on Native American land, so what in the living fuck is a goddamn skinwalker doing in rural New Zealand?